And apparently he's a very, very bad man. You're not allowed to be friends with Justice Thomas because apparently they're now accusing him, I'm not kidding you, of being like a Nazi. If you own a piece of memorabilia from an evil regime in order to demonstrate to your children so that people remember for the future what that evil regime was, this means you're now a fan of that thing. He lives a quiet life in Dallas among his historical collections. These collections include Hitler artifacts, 2 of his paintings of European cityscapes, a signed copy of Mein Kampf, assorted Nazi memorabilia, plus a garden full of statues of the 20th century's worst despots. He said that he's filled his property with these mementos because he hates communism and fascism. Well, I mean, that seems like a reason why you might own this stuff is to remember the things that you hate.
Yeah, everyone fondly collects things from authoritarian and murderous regimes that we hate because that's the way humans are, right? There's Ben Shapiro, and he's, of course, defending the sugar daddy of Justice Clarence Thomas, who's been taking him on all these trips. His name is Harlan Crow, and it's been discovered now that he's in the spotlight for all of his GOP donorism, which, by the way, you've heard about some of this stuff before, but now because Clarence Thomas is now in the spotlight from it, we're finding more about Mr. Crow. He's collected all this Nazi memorabilia, and apparently because he hates it so much. You know, folks who are against the enslaved folks in America, they like to, keep aspects of maybe a couple ropes, folks that were lynched by some of these slaveholders. Maybe they also keep a piece of the property that was going on, be like, I remember the days when this was horrible. I keep it on my mantle in a safe place because I like to look at it every day. See if that makes any sense to you as he continues this defense. But by the way, this is also what David Sirota then pointed out, some of these very obvious facts as they went towards that. Sirota says, yes, Hitler's difficult to remember, which is why everyone needs an autographed copy of Mein Kampf. Do you guys remember, maybe it was a decade ago or so, if anybody was seen even reading Mein Kampf and they were on the left, it was, oh my God, they're turning into Nazis. Look, it's Hitler, it's Hitler, it's Hitler. This guy has a signed autographed copy, apparently, of this stuff. And he has other things as well. It's not just that. There's some napkins, some tablecloths, some place settings from the Nazis as well. Look at the imprints on the corners of these, which apparently, at least what I read quickly, he keeps them in a nice, safe place away from other company because these are probably, it sounds like, his most prized possessions. If you can't tell, underneath that medallion, that Nazi medallion, that picture one more time, you guys, under that Nazi medallion is a sheet of Hitler stamps. At least it appears like stamps to me because he hated him so much. By the way, as I mentioned, this wasn't the first time the news came out about this, but now we're connecting it more to one of our Supreme Court justices who apparently he's paid to a degree by his buddies that can influence his politics. This is the details that happened before. It says, nonetheless, his collections caused an uproar back in 2015. This is back when Marco Rubio attended a fundraiser at Crow's house on the eve of Yom Kippur. Rubio's critics thought the timing was inappropriate given this Hitler thing and that it was on the eve of Yom Kippur. But who cares? He's just there for some money. It's the American way to get these donors to come from this. So people like Ben Shapiro now have to step in front of, which, by the way, why does Ben Shapiro feel he has to be defending this? He can easily still be the same conservative he is with all of his conservative views without defending the guy who's facilitating all these trips for Clarence Thomas and all of his Hitler memorabilia. It doesn't even have to happen, but it seems like it's happening because he needs to make sure the folks who are in favor of these things still are in favor of him. It's like he recognizes his audience or something. But there was one question that Mehdi Hassan did ask, which I thought was a really good one, because you know how much conservatives like to talk about George Soros, and he was totally a Nazi sympathizer, and oh my God, he pays for all these Democrats. Everything that happens in the world is George Soros funded from every aspect. Everything they don't like is George Soros funded things. So if that's the case, what if he was caught with all this Hitler memorabilia? I'd like for him to ask that question.
I think they'd be mad.
Do we have that, Sat, you guys? Sat too? Let's go.
Oh, and for those saying this isn't a story, this isn't fair to Harlan Crow, again, remember, the double standard is in play here. If George Soros had admitted to having a home full of Hitler memorabilia and a garden full of dictator statues, would Fox and the GOP have given him a pass? Or would they be losing their minds and screaming Nazi at him? And yet we have Harlan Crow and Harlan Crow's home. As I have said before on this show, and will say again tonight, for the modern Republican Party and conservative movement, every accusation is a confession.
You think Clarence Thomas is going to be asked questions about this, Jessica?
Great question, Jayar. I just love that Ben Shapiro, whenever he starts it, apparently he's a very bad man. I have a lot of Knicks memorabilia, and that's actually because I'm a Celtics fan. I've got some Jets memorabilia. It's because I'm a Dolphins fan. That's how it works, apparently. The backwards sense. Like, look how bad the Nazis are. Can't you tell how bad they were by this statue in my garden? Like, bro, what are you talking about? It makes absolutely no sense. And he's presenting it like it's this thorough logical argument for why Clarence Thomas is innocent. It's like, no, not at all. And then to say, well, I just really hate communists and fascists, to say that they're the same. Let's be very, very clear. The Soviet Union during World War II was very much responsible for taking down Hitler and fighting the fascists. Communism and fascism are not the same thing, but they love to equate them. They're like, these two things, yep, they're about the same. Harlan Crow is a heck of a name as well. Sounds like a witch.
I was thinking the first I thought was Russell Crowe, but like that he's been in some movies that I really enjoy, so I can't connect him to that. But yeah, Harlan Crow definitely sounds like a bit of a goth thing, maybe even back in the day of the Salem days, as you pointed out. Very much so. So again, bro, I have to try and understand why it has to be an automatic defense of everything these guys do, because it's a defense then of Clarence Thomas. So you have to go all the way back as far as possible. Anything you find out about these folks has to be defended, no matter who you are or where you come from. Again, of course, Ben Shapiro is a practicing Jewish man, and I guess he just doesn't really care. Politics are definitely above anything else, unless it's someone on the left that's collecting Nazi memorabilia. Then he's a total Nazi.